Hi, this is Tony Reid with Rattling the Cage for Tap Out and MMA Worldwide Magazine. Joined here by Tim the Barbarian Boetsch, fresh off his UFC 144 win over Yushin Okami. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
Good, good. We'll jump into some questions. I know we've talked before on camera and off, so we'll jump into some questions. I know coming off the big win, people want to hear more from you, some stuff they might not have heard before, so we'll cover some interesting information here. You were born and raised in Maine. Just talk about some of your fondest memories, things you did growing up, things that kind of bring a smile to your face now, as far as memories from back then.
Yeah, growing up in Maine was awesome. You know, I grew up on a big piece of land, had a lot of woods to roam around in when I was growing up. And me and my friends played a lot of paintball and war games in the woods and very competitive stuff and fighting in the backyard. So we had a lot of fun and certainly a lot of fond memories just enjoying the woods as a young child and all that stuff. We build forts and have all kinds of fun. So I have fond memories of that. And then of course just all the outdoor stuff, hunting, fishing, you know, spending time with my dad and my family doing those sorts of things. Still enjoy that to this day. Nice.
So obviously you went through high school in Maine, 4-time state champ, decided to move to Pennsylvania, go to a powerhouse in Lock Haven University for your wrestling career, of course. During that time, the college days, you kind of had a number of life-changing experiences like most people do. You know, you have your collegiate wrestling career, of course, met friends, met your future wife and her brother, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, what are your memories from your college days? Do you miss certain things? Do you keep in touch with people you knew from college?
Certainly a lot of good experiences in college, and you know, being on the wrestling team, ran into some guys that were interested in MMA, so that was obviously huge as well. But it was fun, you know, especially the wrestling. You know, I would have liked to settled into my wrestling career a little bit better in college. I was bouncing around in different weight classes, but I think part of that lended to my competitiveness after college. So I think everything happens for a reason, and certainly glad things worked out the way they did.
Yeah, I know how important family is to you. I know we've had some personal conversations about the importance of family, you know, moments of clarity. I know we had actually a really awesome and interesting conversation last time, and basically that's the most important thing in life. Can you talk about the importance of keeping family first?
Yeah, I think if I remember what I said, I think
we were standing right here. I think you looked at a picture of Christian or something. Yeah. You were just like, it just kind of...
Yeah, our most important job we have on this planet is being good parents, I think, and raising our kids right. So definitely there has to be a balance, and it's difficult for me, especially with training camp where I have to be away for so long. I'm actually looking to correct that now and maybe move them out to do my training camps. But certainly being that figure and being a good role model for your kids and just teaching them how to live life correctly, you know, and do things right, I think is very important. And definitely have a big emphasis on that in my life.
And you touched on it a minute ago, talk about some of the things you're passionate about away from MMA. Anyone that knows you knows you're an avid hunter. So a couple quick questions. What do you like to hunt? And other than your hands and feet, what weapons of mass destruction do you prefer to use when hunting?
Hunting, my favorite things to hunt are deer and elk. And then I will bow hunt and rifle hunt. I'm a huge gun fanatic, so I have lots of rifles to choose from when I go hunting. Yeah, definitely a heavy rifle, I think, is my favorite choice.
That could be another video we do. We'll go through your gun collection.
Absolutely. I think I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse.
There you go. Nice. So you own and operate Barbarian Combat Sports. It's a gym here in Sunbury, Northumberland area. Can you talk about some of the challenges associated with keeping a gym going while you still compete on the highest level in the sport? And as follow-up to that, what are your goals for the gym? And where do you see the gym, you know, say 2, 3, 5 years down the road? What are the goals for the gym?
Well, it's difficult to do anything business-wise just because I'm out of town so much training. So I want to make sure that I have good people in the gym working it and doing the classes and whatnot. So, you know, I want my students there learning, you know, the ways that I kind of came up through the sport. Not everybody likes it. You know, I actually get a lot of people coming to the gym and thinking it's maybe a little bit too hardcore, maybe a little too violent, and then I kind of chuckle to myself and I'm like, you realize this is fighting. If you're not fighting,
boxer size in your Taibo, right?
Exactly. And I'm not saying we won't have those classes, but if you show up and think you want to be a fighter at Barbarian Combat Sports and train under me and fight professionally, you're going to take some beatings. And that's how I learned. You know, I got beat up real I still do. I still do get beat up. So that's part of training. But my plan for the gym is I want to have a great stable of fighters. I want to eventually, have a lot of pro fighters fighting out of the gym, and maybe even train some world champions. I think that would be awesome.
Nice.
One thing at a time. I want to become world champion.
Yeah.
We'll focus
First
on that for
first,
now.
right? So, you've stated that your favorite striking combination is anything that ends with an uppercut. So how happy were you with the uppercuts you landed on Yushin Okami in the third round of your fight?
Yeah, I think I said that. Well, I think I may have said that about a year ago, maybe longer. And I actually laughed because I think my first time in the UFC, I was throwing these huge uppercuts at Matt Hamill.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just barely missing.
Remember the one picture, I think even has like your profile picture for some time, throwing a huge one.
And everybody was saying, "Oh, if you ever land those, you'll kill somebody." And well, finally, I landed them when I needed to and took them out. So definitely still sticking with the combo that ends in an uppercut.
Nice. So speaking of the fight, could you walk us through the fight as far as your mindset, maybe at the beginning of the first round, going into the second round, then going into the third round, and how that transpired? Did your mindset change? Did you see things? Were you hearing things from your corner as far as changing game plan, anything like that?
No, I never needed to change game plan. I needed to execute the game plan.
Okay.
First round, I didn't feel like I was losing the round that badly. I knew he was getting his striking off, and I was hanging out in his range too much, so I knew that was an error on my part. But he was doing a better job, too, of striking. He was a little bit faster, a little bit sharper than what I had studied in the films. But honestly, after the first round, I was not that discouraged. I knew in the judge's eyes he probably won that round. But I knew it was close. I knew going to my corner, my right hand was sore, so I'd been landing some decent shots. Second round, he closed the distance on me, and I had an opportunity to go for a guillotine. And word on the street was he was susceptible to guillotines. And if you watch the tape, I look my corner and I look at Matt in his eyes. And I'm like, do I go for this to give up position? Because that's kind of one of our things is we don't give up position for submission or striking. Always keep position. But I went for it anyway. It was fairly tight, but I knew I wasn't going to finish it. I just wasn't in the right position. So bailed out of it. Ended up getting mounted and beat on a little bit. So I definitely knew I lost the second round. So going into the third round, Matt just came to me and he's like, "You got to knock him out to win." That's what he said. He said, "You have to knock him out."
I think you can hear something to that effect on the pay-per-views.
Yes.
And coming out the corner.
And he said to me, "If you can catch him, you can finish him." Because that was the whole thing we'd worked on all training camp was closing the distance and throwing combos. And I wasn't closing the distance properly in the first or second round. The third round, I was fine. Matt even said to me, "You're not even breathing hard. Your heart rate's fine." He said, "Be super aggressive and go get him." That's exactly what I did. It kind of just clicked in my mind. Hey, I am fine. I'm not tired. Gas tank's full. Let's get this guy. And you saw what happened. We landed a pretty good combo and then finished him.
Nice. So Joe Rogan went completely crazy after your comeback, going as far as to say it was the greatest comeback in the history of the UFC. He kind of backed off that statement after he kind of relaxed a little bit. But regardless, it was one of the greatest comebacks in the UFC history. What feedback did you get post-fight from other fighters, UFC brass, media? Did you immediately get like an "oh my god" response?
Everybody was blown away by it. I think it's just the whole situation. I was in Japan. I was fighting Okami. I was fighting in front of his hometown. He was the favorite by far, and he beat me up for 2 rounds. In everybody's eyes, I was losing the fight huge, and I made the comeback, and everybody was just really blown away. And actually. My friend Ryan, who was in my corner, ended up in the airport lounge with GSP and Joe Rogan. So they were talking about how incredible the comeback was and how it's like Rocky IV when he takes out Drago. So it was pretty awesome.
That's funny. So you made a name for yourself in MMA long before UFC 144 in Japan. But after your performance there, things have gone kind of to another level. Where do you see yourself in the mix at middleweight right now?
Personally, I think I'm right at the top of the food chain now. Okami's last fight was for the strap. Yeah, he got TKO'd by Silva, which, if I'm correct, that was the first time he'd been TKO'd in the UFC. And in his first fight back, I do the same thing to him. So I think I'm in pretty good company with Okami. And certainly I would say I'm very close to the top. And that's exactly where I want to be. I want to be fighting the toughest guys in the UFC, and I want to be beating them. So I'm going to continue to win these fights.
So since coming off the big win, you've respectfully asked to fight a few of the top tier guys in the game. Initially, it was you're a fan, or not looked up to Dan Henderson, but respected him a great deal. You kind of threw that out there. It didn't quite stick, and then another top contender you called out to a degree was Michael Bisping, again in a respectful way. How would you see those fights playing out if they would happen? A against Henderson, B against Bisping. What would you envision that?
A Henderson fight, I would see more of a who can keep it on the feet and win the striking battle, because I believe he'd want to take me down and ground and pound me. So it would be a battle of who's the better takedown guy. And he's obviously tough, a great wrestler, which would be an awesome fight, and he's a hero of mine. So that's kind of why I wanted to see if we could maybe make that happen. A fight with Bisping, I think he relies heavily on his boxing ability. And people talk about how good his footwork is and how maybe he's one of the fastest-handed middleweights there are out there, which might be overstating it a little bit, but he's certainly good. He's definitely highly skilled. But I would have no qualms about standing and seeing whose striking was better with Mr. Bisping.
Nice. So, last question I have for you before I let you go here. What would you want the world to know about Tim Boetsch? Like I said, everything's kind of gone to a whole nother level now. We know the Barbarian. We see that side of you. We've covered some other stuff here. Is there anything you're like, man, I wish people knew this about me, or
That's a very good question. What do I wish people knew about me? I think people kind of feel that I'm the underdog in a lot of these fights, and certainly think my opponents are going to beat me up, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I think the world should know, and I think they're going to figure it out pretty soon that I'm one of the best fighters at middleweight in the world, and I'm here to prove it, and I'm happy to prove it. So bring on the toughest guys, and I'll continue to take them out.
Nice. You heard it there. Heard it from the man himself, Tony Reid, Rattling the Cage, Tap Out Magazine, signing off.